Clearmatics is a London-based blockchain R&D company. We've been around for about 3 years. I personally have been in the blockchain space since 2010. And what we do at Clearmatics is we build distributed autonomous systems for the next generation of capital markets infrastructure. So we work with the evil ones in the industry. But we only work with the ones who have the courage to look forward 5 years hence and reinvent their business models. Because the whole point of blockchain from our perspective in Clearmatics is not just about creating censorship-resistant digital cash. It's about creating business models that mutualize the value of network effects. And challenge the natural monopoly dynamics of network effects. And that's something that the capital markets industry actually happens to resonate with them a lot, because it's one of the few industries that abhors monopolies. And you may have heard that we're the company that's running a project called the Utility Settlement Coin Project, which is about creating a type of stablecoin. It's a digital cash instrument for the cash leg of settlement for financial transactions, and it's fully collateralized by cash at the central bank. What I want to talk about today, though, is not that. This is not about the Utility Settlement Coin Project. This is about the pure cypherpunk concept of stablecoin, and this is a type of cryptocurrency which is an autonomous system that's censorship resistant and based on an open access model of validation. And it's a really hard problem to solve, and as many of you know, it's quite a trendy topic today. And let me grab this. It wasn't that trendy a few years ago. What I remember about 3 years ago is that there was this stablecoin concept in BitShares by Dan Larimer. There was also, and that actually went into production. The stablecoin aspect of it didn't quite work, but system that's still around today. There was the shelling coin concept by Vitalik. And there's a seigniorage shares concept which I developed. And both of the second two concepts never really went beyond concept phase. Now, where we are today is stablecoin refers to really kind of three different categories of concept. First, there's a collateral-backed IOU, and there's the infamous tether up there. The stablecoin thing that we're working with in the Utility Settlement Coin Project, which is not what this talk is about. Then there's the idea of collateral-backed, on-chain collateral-backed stablecoin. MakerDAO is probably the most developed of them, and this is the idea of stabilizing a cryptocurrency by backing it with a basket of other cryptos. And then there's this family of derivatives of the seigniorage shares concept. Basecoin and fragments are probably the two most prominent at the moment. None of these are in production yet. On the basis of the white papers, I think there's some problems with the designs, which I won't go into today. But what I want to talk about in this talk today is give a high-level overview of the concept behind seigniorage shares, and I want to share some reflections on what I think the state of stablecoin or seigniorage shares idea stablecoin is. So what are the key ingredients behind stablecoin is quite simple. One is that you have two coins. One is a stablecoin, and for simplicity, let's call it mass. The other is a volatile coin, which is like equity. Let's call that energy. So it's a two-coin system. The second aspect of it is that there's a stabilization target. And for simplicity, we can think of that stabilization target as being the price of the stablecoin, the mass, against some external value. So it could be $1 US equals 1 mass. That's the stabilization target, and that's what the system is going to try to achieve, to make sure that the stablecoin is tracking, has purchasing power of $1 US. There's a purchasing power oracle. So you need to take that purchasing power index as some piece of information that's outside of the protocol. So you need some way of representing that facts about the outside world inside the protocol in a trustless way. And then there's a market rule for converting mass into energy and energy into mass based on the stabilization target and the oracle. Now, the whole idea behind how this works is actually quite simple. This is the demand curve for a stablecoin. And the stablecoin demand, you need to think of stablecoin demand as not being store value demand. It's not like I take my savings and I'm going to speculate on the future price of the coin, or maybe it generates some yield and transaction fees. That's not the motivation for this type of demand. This is the motivation for transactional demand, in the way that you hold cash in your bank deposits. Like, I know that I'm going to need to make payments over the next 2 weeks or the next month, so I need to hold some liquidity balance in order to facilitate those payments. And that's transactional demand, and that's what this curve is. But if you have a cryptocurrency that has a fixed supply or deterministic supply rule, when the demand increases, that means that the price increases, because the demand is just the product of the price of the coin and the quantity. And all we're trying to do in a stablecoin model is dynamically change the supply in a way that's proportional to the change in demand. And because the demand curve for transactional demand has this simple shape, if the demand for stablecoin increases by 10%, then the price will increase by 10%. And if we can then increase the supply by 10%, you'll bring the price of the stablecoin back down to the stabilization target. So how do we do this? Well, there are two hard problems that we need to solve. One is, like, how do we make that fact about the outside world, the market price of the stablecoin, how do we make the protocol know about that through an oracle in a way that's trustless? That's a hard problem to solve. But the other hard problem to solve is how we change the supply of the stablecoin in a way that's incentive compatible in the system. And the way it works in seigniorage shares is that, if the price of the stablecoin goes up by 10%, then we auction new mass against energy, and we burn the energy. If the price of the stablecoin goes down by X%, we auction new energy for mass, and we burn the mass. And the key insight between how this thing works is that, one, that the ratio at which mass and energy are exchanged in this needs to be a market price, and two, that there is a very simple dynamic portfolio argument that you can make that the value of the energy will equal the net present value of changes, all future changes in stablecoin demand. So as long as the system, the expectations in the market is that the stablecoin demand in the long run will be positive, that energy will have a positive market value and be able to absorb short-run declines in stablecoin demand. And this is very much like a central bank. This is effectively what a central bank does. If you take away the complexity of targeting interest rates and everything, all the central bank is doing is adjusting the supply of base money to track an inflation target. But this is like an algorithmic central bank, and in a stablecoin model, it's a decentralized algorithmic central bank. So, what I want to talk about now is, like, what are some of the problems with the concept and how it's being discussed today? Because it's a very popular topic today. There are multiple projects that are built around this concept. And I think one of the problems is the demand within the cryptocurrency space for a stablecoin is very much being driven by the cryptocurrency market, which is very much driven by speculation. And people want a stablecoin because they want to be able to de-risk or go short the crypto market without crystallizing their P&L in a fiat currency transaction, because that is a tax event and gives visibility to the tax authorities, et cetera. But that kind of demand to hold stablecoin in order to sell short your cryptocurrency balance, isn't the kind of demand that's being assumed in a stablecoin system. The whole idea behind a stablecoin system is that you're creating a coin that can be used for transactional purposes. It's supposed to be high velocity money. It's supposed to facilitate value exchange within a crypto ecosystem, not as a way of balancing risk in a speculative market. So to say stablecoin is more than an economic mechanism for changing supply, it's also about changing coin demand. And that's the essential point. The idea is that if you create a stablecoin, you actually help solve the problem that cryptocurrency has today, which is that it's a really crappy medium of exchange because it's so volatile. The other bit is that the goal is to steer speculative demand into shares. The idea is that the demand for crypto assets really should be broken up into two parts. There's the demand to hold a coin for transactional purposes, liquidity demand, to pay your transaction fees, pay your gas. And the other is as a store of value. And the store of value aspect of cryptocurrency demand should go into energy, into the shares. The transactional demand should go into a stable coin. But the problem is most of the demand for stablecoin today is actually speculative. And I don't think the system will work unless we build a stablecoin or collection of stablecoins within a broader ecosystem that helps generate velocity to use the coin to generate velocity for actual genuine value exchange in the blockchain ecosystem. Some parting observations on stablecoin research. Don't peg anything. So the example I used earlier about the stabilization target being, one stablecoin equals $1 US. Don't do that. Pegging never works. And the idea of a stablecoin isn't really about pegging it to a fiat currency. A stablecoin can be stable with respect to itself. It doesn't have to peg a real-world value. It can be pick any arbitrary price index. Purchasing power of your stablecoin is the volatility of that below a certain threshold. That's the kind of stability that makes sense, and I think will be robust. Pegging never works. It doesn't work in the existing capital markets. It's certainly not going to work in the crypto markets. So one thing that you can do is you can make the stabilization target a measure of some endogenous scarcity. So it can be block scarcity. And there is an idea in the space today about blockchain rent. That's one potential source of stablecoin research. Constant gas price is another. The other, and this is popular within the crypto space because there's this idea that crypto is about digital gold, and it's really good that you've got an asset that is only going to go up in value. But the stablecoin, it actually should be inflationary. And some of the work that done on the seigniorage shares model is that you actually create you have fewer failure scenarios in the system if there is a predictable inflationary property to your stabilization target, like it declines in value by 5% per annum. It actually creates a more stable system. Go deeper into protocol research. It's not just about creating a stable token. All of these things are interconnected. Consider questioning the whole premise. This one is a bit more controversial, but consider questioning the whole premise of protocol-defined digital scarcity coin supply logic. So there is a presumption within the crypto, most of the people in the cryptocurrency space, that by rationing the supply in a protocol, whether it's a stable coin or whether it's a deterministic supply rule, by rationing it in the protocol, you create scarcity. But protocols are just protocols. They can be forked. And the idea that in the long run, protocol-generated scarcity is that sticky is actually an open question about the intersection between the concept of digital scarcity and network effects. It's quite possible that in the long run, the only digital scarcity that really works is proof of work difficulty. Not necessarily as a consensus rule, but as a proof that you've actually burnt some real world resources. That's actually, that is genuine digital scarcity, which would be an interesting conclusion because that kind of takes us back to Nick Szabo's concept of digital gold. There's some interesting ideas about how you can create a stable coin from a completely different from standard shares, a completely different strategy by exploiting Nick Szabo's original digital gold concept. So that's it. Any questions?
So in the nature of cryptocurrencies being decentralized, how does the supply side actually get regulated issue? So in something like NewBits, you have people that are owning the currency voting on when new coins should be issued and who's the custodian in order to hold its supply. Thank you. Yeah, so in your opinion, like, what's a good model for controlling the supply side dynamic?
Okay, so there are two things. There's no need for a custodian for the supply because the supply doesn't sit somewhere. It's just created out of nothing against burning something else. So if the stablecoin goes up in value, say we're targeting a price of 1, it goes up to 110, we issue 10% new stablecoin against burning the volatile coin at a market rate. So you have an on-chain auction that auctions off enough of the volatile coin to absorb the new stablecoin demand. And so I guess is the question, who determines that? Yeah. And that's the Oracle problem. So that's a fact about the outside world of what is the stablecoin price, and it needs to get represented inside the protocol in a trustless way. And that's actually really hard to do. And it's one of the reasons why I mentioned earlier, don't try to peg it against something like the dollar. Look at inside blockchain protocols, things like difficulty actually reflect some information about the outside world, like the price of Bitcoin, in a way that's trustless. So look inside the protocol for that information rather than the Oracle approach. But the Oracle approach is a way to do it. It's just, I think it's hard to do in a robust way.
What role are we contributing to creating a better, more stable, fairer marketplace? And whether stablecoin is helping the community or potentially hindering the community. And so yeah, I'm not sure if you have an opinion on that.
Sure. So on the last point about whether it's helping or hindering the community, I mean the idea behind why you want to do stablecoin is to promote the cypherpunk vision, and the idea is that for this stuff to really take traction, you need some form of stablecoin, something that can actually act as a good medium of exchange, and fixed or deterministic supply rules of cryptocurrencies don't offer you that. The more broader question, though, of does the original, Satoshi vision promote a stable, more fair society? I mean, I think attacking the monopoly problem can make a fair society in the sense that we remove some of the injustice that comes from rent seeking. That you manage to kind of corner this aspect of the market and extract rent from everybody because you captured that network effect. But I don't think the idea of creating a fair wealth distribution in the sense that the Gini coefficient of a crypto world is going to have more equality, I think that's probably unlikely, because I don't think the distribution of wealth is the shape that it is just because of rent seeking. I think there are lots of reasons for that. And I think if people are looking for the crypto vision as being an engine for creating material or financial equality, I think will be disappointed. But that's just my view.
Hi, I'm Adam from Supernova Labs. My question is kind of threefold. Like, one's a point of information. Like, I take issue with what the first thing you said, that capital markets and all monopolies, because a lot of the stock buybacks in the economy right now are creating the monopolies in tech and across the sector. When you said don't pay anything, you then went on to say make it inflationary, which why not allow it to be deflationary and inflationary dependent on the requirements of the system at that point in time? That's pretty much everything I covered with the last thing.
Sure. Yeah, so why not make it like deflationary? Really two reasons. One, go either way. Like why does it matter? Like, so I think the problem with making it deflationary is that you're not you undermine one of the goals, which is to actually change the demand for the coin, which is to be transactional demand. So people will actually start to hold the stablecoin as a store of value, and that brings the speculative dimension back into it and makes it harder to stabilize. The other reason for it is that because the value for the volatile coin, the energy, needs to be large enough to be able to absorb declines in demand, the value is a function of the net present value of changes in demand. And if you have a slightly inflationary stablecoin, you actually increase the value of the shares and it increases the stability of the system. And that second one is less obvious, but it is true. So those are the two main reasons. I don't think a deflationary stablecoin will actually end up being that stable.